Hi there. First of all, let me welcome you to this particular video recording where I talk about Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Bhagwan Shri Krishna is just above me, behind me, always providing their benevolence to me. Now, today is Govardhan Pooja. And on this auspicious occasion, I would like to wish you and your loved ones and all your friends and families the very best. And may all your dreams come true on this auspicious occasion. Having said that, let's talk about Govardhan Puja. Of course, it is around the stories behind Bhagwan Sri Krishna. The reason I call him Bhagwan is there is absolutely no term which is equal to Bhagwan in English language, right? For that matter, any other language other than Indian languages. So I will only call him Bhagwan, right? That's actually his true identity. Now, there is a big difference between Bhagwan, Devi Devta, and Ishwar. The day you come to know the difference between the three, you will actually appreciate what I'm going to say. Now, before I start speaking about Govardhan Puja, I would like to let you know that I come from a Braj Bhumi. My ancestrally, we belong to an area, Rajgarh, which is very close to Alwar, which is within the Brij Bhumi area, very close to Mathura and Vrindavan. And that's where we come from. And we have acharya, we have Sanskrit scholars, we have worshippers, we have so many people in that area. And I have interacted with many of them because of my research on Bhagwad Geeta. And that's where we come to know the true, authentic story behind Govardhan Puja. Uh, some of you may not appreciate because I am going to remove the miracle angle to it. See, Hinduism has no miracle in it. The entire history of Hinduism, absolutely no miracle. It's about dharmic principles. It has nothing to do with miracle. The miracles and the fantastic chamatkars were added at the time of Mughals and later on the Abrahamic religions. Right? Hindus had to create their own version of fantasticness. That's the reason why we are ingrained thinking that everything about Bhagwan Sri Krishna is miraculous. Actually, not. Bhagwan Sri Krishna, I am a big fan. The reason is because I don't want to worship, I want to be a follower so that I can follow his principles and apply it in today's world. Because the way he lived, the way he helped everybody else, his absolute critical thinking, out of the box thinking, absolutely literal design thinking, as we call it today, decision making power in ambiguous situation is something that I'm a big fan of. And that's the reason why I've chosen Bhagwad Gita as my first research topic in Hinduism, right? Now, let's come back to Govardhan. See, when he was growing up in Vrindavan and around Mathura, he used to travel like crazy. His main job was to take the cattle out and get them grazed, but he was a naughty guy. He would simply like to go everywhere, check out everything, walk the path of the rivers and see where does this river leads to, walk over every hill and mountain, climb on every tree, sometimes he would be away from his family for days because he was exploring. Inquisitive mind. And that's the reason why villagers are very, very irritated with this guy. This guy will not tend the cattle. The cattle would graze at a farmland or they would get lost and we had to bring them back. Where is Krishna? So we know the story, just how naughty he was, right? And the fact is that because of doing that, because he was observant, because his mind was constantly craving more information, more knowledge, he just wanted to know everything, he actually saw that cattle would graze near Govardhan. It's not a mountain, it's a huge hill, but out of respect, we call it a mountain, Govardhan Parvat. So cattle would start grazing and they would somehow vanish into this hill. And sometimes some of them would actually come out the other side. Like, what was happening? So he actually explored and found that this entire Govardhan mountain was a catacomb of so many different caves at different levels, and it would go out somewhere and this and that. So he realized that it is so vast, the entire tunnel network, that it could house a couple of villagers, all with their belongings and cattle. And that was just what he thought. Months later, during the monsoon, massive rainfalls happened. Of course, there's another miraculous story about that Indra getting angry, whatever it is, because Krishna defied Indra. That all was later added much later. That's Basically, I'm not going to say it's not true because some of you may feel hurt, but actually, it's more to do with uh, preventing a certain groups of religion from taking over ours to show miracles. So that's a different part of it. But really, if you look at it, if you remove the miracle part of it, you'll realize just how amazing Bhagwan Krishna was. So because of this, he realized that, hey, the water level is rising, all fields are getting flooded, uh, homes are getting wiped out. What do we do? How do we save the cattle? How do we save the people? How do we save the children? What do we do? So he just asked all of the villagers to quickly assemble whatever they can carry because they could not, take the bullock carts and all. Said whatever you can get your hand, food, whatever. Leave your what I call riches like ornaments or anything. That's not needed. Just gather your cattle, gather whatever food you can have with you, and let's head towards the Govardhan mountain. So he went in and he actually told the way in, and people could actually just keep on going. And with the cattle, they all fitted in with room to spare. Right? And but the problem was still not over. What happened is because it was a catacomb of so many tunnels and caves, it was also a little porous. So what was happening is rainwater was seeping in and they were dripping. And soon people realized over the next 11, 12 hours that the water level within the cave have already reached their ankles, right? So what did they do? So he simply said, you know what? There's so many of us. Let's just stop these holes. Let's just plug these holes from where the water is seeping. So he used one of his little pinkies and he just kind of plugged the hole. People looking at him, they had these, all the grazers, they have lathis and those kind of things. It's an Indian cane. They started plugging the hole. Some people used fingers, some people used pegs, and they kind of plugged, and they realized after 7 days that the water level did not rise. They had a little food, so they consumed it, offered it to the cattle, offered it to the children. The elders kind of had little, but they kind of survived, and they were all famished by the end of 7 days, because 7 days is how long that rainfall and flooding lasted. As the water started to recede, they didn't have any food. Whatever little food that they had brought was completely gone. So he simply said, you know what? Whatever grain that you have, just go out and into the village and see whatever that is left, right? Whatever vegetables you can get, just scrounge around, right? And people came back after hours and nobody had enough for their own selves. But with the grains and the rice and the millets and the lot of vegetables, right, whatever they could get, even though the food individually was very less, but when they put it in a large pot, they didn't even have oil, so they just put water and they started boiling it, boiling it, boiling it, and they just put a little salt, and that's it. That was the food. And that's how the concept of Annakoot was born. That is something that we do during lunch hours on this day. We, as a community, we come together and organize this feast, right? And that's how this Annakoot thing was. Right? So we celebrate the community spirit. That is was introduced by Bhagwan Shri Krishna, that as a community, we are not big, small, rich, poor, or anything. When the difficulty arises, we need to help each other, right? Even if you figure out that, hey, you have too little for yourself, but when we put it as a group, we can actually feed everybody else. We can overcome a larger problem, right? It's not only about food, it's about how we come together to overcome a situation, a problem. That is something that is what we should be kind of talking about in Govardhan. But unfortunately, people are so overawed by the concept of miracle that they think that this is only what Krishna could have done. He could have lifted the entire Parvat on his little finger. See, this is the miracle part, which was later on added, but which is actually incorrect. That was just added for us to survive. But the reality is that he found out ways how to, keep on surviving, never give up, right? Never lose hope, right? And make sure that others. So Bhagwan Sri Krishna is an embodiment of emotional intelligence, thinking under pressure, street smartness, chess-like moves, running a kingdom, saving people, absolute fantastic, how would I say, out of the box thinking, design thinking, you name it. And Bhagwan Shri Krishna had that. That's the reason we elevated a person born on this imperfect earth to the level of Bhagwan, right? Remember, all the Bhagwans are born. Devi Devta are not, nor is Ishwar. But I would simply request you to know the difference between the three. The moment you know it, you'll really understand what I'm talking about. And my apologies to anybody who still feels that they are they feel hurt because of what I've just said. I removed the miraculous part of it. My apologies in advance, but I'm actually researching Hinduism. So that's why what I'm trying to do is removing the additional parts which were kind of layers which were added to Hinduism just to protect ourselves from, more aggressive religions. Let's put it this way, organized religions. So this is the reality. Now, how do we celebrate it? So we live in gated community. I live in the gated community. I'm sure you do. You may have a neighborhood. But when you celebrate, we are celebrating it wrong because we assume that Bhagwan Shri Krishna could do these kind of things. What can I do? So we start worshiping. Now, what is the one of the worst things that we can do with Bhagwan is to worship, because when we worship, it actually means that we are asking Sri Krishna to do things for us, whereas he never asked anybody else. What we should be learning from him is that how not to give up in difficult situations, right? That's exactly why I'm a fan. I'm a big follower of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And that's why I hardly have gone to any of the temples. Uh, uh, in the olden days, you'll be shocked to know that all the Bhagwan temples were built during the Islamic era. Bhagwans did not have any temples. They were they were they were people who were taught about in gurukuls. That is something that we need to understand. That's why the earlier, talking about historic people, they were much better at handling difficulties than us because they were taught. Today, we worship. That means things that Bhagwan Sri Krishna could do, we can't because we've added the miracle into it. That's what is the dangerous part. So Bhagwans are real role models that we should be taking from and apply it in this real imperfect world and see how much of huge difference it makes to us. Right? But how do we celebrate it? So in my gated community, they have hired a cook to make this. Now they'll make it. People will assemble there. They'll eat the food and say, this was made well, this was not made well. Do you really think that was the follower of being a follower of Bhagwan Sri Krishna? That's not what he intended. It's basically was talking about that get people together. Everybody takes part in it. Everybody cooks. The meal may not be perfect, but it brings people together. No hierarchy of wealth or status or anything. We all come together and we partake. We survive as one. So it is one of the biggest community fest. We are doing it absolutely wrong. Think about it. Well, this is all I have to say about this amazing event of Govardhan Pooja. Amazing history behind it. Keeping that in mind, I'll just stop it here and wish you once again fantastic uh, wishes on Govardhan Pooja on this auspicious occasion. This is Manish Vijay from PM Pulse, and I hope you appreciated this video. And if in some way or the other I have offended you, my apologies upfront.